Hi, hey, welcome in, welcome back, welcome out. I am Annie Redbird, Redbird Restorative Gardens. Hello, welcome. Let's get so that the sunlight doesn't pierce my eyeballs too much. Welcome in for Goodbye Garden Series, the finale. The finale is happening right now. Welcome to the finale. Hey, so today marks the day when our beautiful house here in Aurora transfers over to new owners, and we officially begin our new chapter out on our farm. So I've been doing this Goodbye Garden series. This is the 4th or 5th live broadcast, because it was really important to me to use this platform to share with you intimately, personally, my own connection with my garden, both as a creator, as a healer, and also as an everyday gal who is really connected to my environment and what my environment provides me. The relationship. It's a relationship that we have with these spaces. And there are times when you have to say goodbye in a relationship, move on and grow. And what's really, really awesome is that that's what's here and has been here at the formerly known as Redbird World Headquarters, these gardens. So in the sneak peek, I said to you, hey, I want to share as though you're just arriving, right? As though you're just arriving here and being welcomed, sort of what the experience might be. And I want to share with you why I did certain things the way I did in this series or in this particular broadcast. Now, this broadcast may go long because cats and kittens, my little red birds, hey, this is the finale. This is the moment I say goodbye and drive away. And all sorts of prayers and good positive thoughts that new owners will embrace and take from what Steve and I did and created here, and find respite and happiness, peace, and a lot of laughs. So I want to take you through the experience, and I'll talk some design speak and some soul speak. There will be some science that I share with you. This is unscripted as well. I want to just sort of speak plainly and from my heart and be inspired by the nature that's here, So I'll turn the camera from time to time and just know that this is my personal essay, that you have your own, and I encourage you to have your own in your own relationship and how you see and use nature in your life to cultivate your best nature. So join me for our finale. And if you have any questions while on the live or watching the replay, feel free to drop them in the comment box and I'll be back in touch with you. And just thanks in advance for joining me and sharing this really personal time with me. So here we are. Here we are. Now, do know this. Part of the reason I say here we are a lot is that Steve's last name is Here. Spelled differently. Hello, neighbor. Spelled differently. Double E's rather than E-R-E. So I use that as just as a double entendre and have a good time with it. But here we were. So we remodeled the house that you see behind me. We remodeled this house in 2010. I had the opportunity to take what was a bachelor pad landscape and turn it into something that was completely unique and meaningful. You see that's what we call the tower back there. And, the house was originally constructed in 1949. So there were some really very beautiful, sweet little pieces that existed from 1949. One was a particular sort of serpentine walkway that came out from the front door. And that was a walkway I tripped on. One of the really great memories I have is living across the street and then coming over to visit with Steve. And hi neighbor. And so I was running over, I was going to visit with Steve. We had some sort of date going on. And I ran and I cut the corner of that serpentine walkway and I bit it. I bit it big time in my fancy little shiz, in my fancy little dress. And I just planted and I popped right back up as soon as I could, as fast as I could. Looked around, dusted myself off, and then just sort of tucked my tail and head back over across the street where I was living with my mom at the time. And thinking, oh, thank God, no one saw me. Well, turns out Steve totally saw me. And a couple of neighbors did too. So a little bit of a wounded ego nonetheless. What was really important about that is to pay attention about what that walkway did or did not do to get me to the front doors safely. And so there's a deliberate move to change that geometry to speak to the existing architecture of the house. But what I did like about that serpentine walkway is it took you on a journey, right? We have a distance between the sidewalk, which I'm standing on now, and the front door. There's a distance of approximately 20 to 25 feet. Now that's a short amount of space to get out of your car, come through the parking strip, and get to the front door. That's a short expanse. And so how do you make the journey of arrival where people land, where you feel like you've arrived, you come through some sort of portal, and then you come into the home, right? So it's really important, that sort of sequencing. So what I did borrow from the original serpentine walkway was a expression of curvilinear, and you'll see that. And I was really wanting to use mixed materials, but there are two important design moves. The curvilinear materials, or the curvilinear expression, needed to repeat through the rest of the landscape, taking inspiration from some tile that was in the master bath. And the other, that speaks to the theme or metaphor of things go round, things cycle. It's important to know and rest and lean into things will move through a cycle. Nature teaches that us gently and not so gently sometimes. The other is having one unified theme. So what I wanted to do in my sort of play station here is I wanted to play off of the bit that I understand about Frank Lloyd Wright. You can see some of that expressed in the architecture up here, the low squatty roof, etc. I wanted to play off of, one particular piece I read about Frank Lloyd Wright and using the house numbers to help tell a story in the landscape. Now, you will be getting some very top secret information that no one really has about why I did what I did with the geometries, materials, and layout in the front walk. So, without further ado, welcome in. All right. So, here we are, neighbor, Main Street, Aurora. There's that sign soon to go down. Walkway, and then pan to the house. So here she is. Here she is, the front garden. Now, what used to be here was completely lawn. There was a cherry tree that was here, and that becomes important when I get to that corner. There was a very sad flowering cherry tree there. And again, this was lawn, and nothing else. Oh, there was a particular rose bush. It's still there on the corner over here. What was important is that I wanted to do what we do best in arid landscapes, which is, this is west facing. I wanted to provide canopy cover so that we would cool the house as much as possible when the hot sun would hit either the south side of the house or the west side. That's a really important piece to consider when you're doing your site planning, when you're thinking about how to use landscape in a very practical sense, is what sort of shade canopy can you create. The nice thing, particularly over here, here's my favorite tree in the whole wide world, at least right now. That's a forest pansy, Mexican redbud. And here's kitchen window, guys. So this is a golden raindrops crabapple, and what I created there was what we call nature TV. So robins sit and munch on those crab apples come fall when they ripen, and you can just hang out in that window eating your breakfast, cereal, granola, let's just say, or drinking your green smoothie, and you can watch those robins delight in that experience there. So that was super important. What you're missing right now is what would be happening right here, which was an elderberry, black lace elderberry. Now, there's an arc that I'm working with here all the way around. There's a geometry, a larger arc, and what I'm doing in that expression with those trees is I'm hugging, anyone who arrives here. I'm already setting the tone of the welcome sequence. Now, to the front door. So what was really cool about the builder is we were able to pop out the front door just a little bit. My brother built that beautiful column there, and I wanted to use stone that was indigenous to this region. So that stone comes from a local quarry, not 25 miles away, 20 miles away perhaps. And so you'll see that stone material in the walkway. I did not want a solid band of concrete up. And again, as I mentioned, I wanted to play off of the house numbers. So prepare yourself for its top secret information. So the first number in the house number is a 2. We have 2 half circles. This is where I created that nice, in therapeutic design theory, we call that a harbor. So I'm sort of repeating the arc that's here. So geometries are super important. Repeating the arc, I'm repeating that here and here. Again, as you arrive, I want to welcome you. I want to sort of say, this is safe harbor. This is safe place. The other side of it, as my cousins know, there's the long goodbye, right? When we go to say goodbye to family or friends, we love to sort of linger. So I wanted a place in this short distance. I wanted a place where one could linger, where we could just do the long goodbye. And so the 2 half circles are there. So that's the 2. The 1 in the house number is this 1 band of concrete. It's an exposed aggregate. I wanted a very simple material. The house has a lot going on, and I knew I was going to be doing a lot in the landscape. So I wanted a simple aggregate, which, guys, you just can't beat a really good aggregate, honestly. The coloration in the rock, because it's native rock or local rock, it's just really delightful. And the message there is that, just one unifying sort of element, one unified theme, that there's just a story that is rather simple yet complex. So that's the 1 here. So we have 2, 1. The next is 3. So again, from arid landscapes training, so graduate studies in Arizona, not only am I using plant material to help cool the house, I'm also using this expression rather than a water feature. I'm using this Mexican pebble here. 1, 2, 3. These are bands of water, so to speak, moving through the design. So the Mexican pebble was my way of saying that there is water here. That in fact go many moons back, there was water here. So this Mexican pebble gave me an opportunity to play off of tones in concrete and stone, and also have something that was fluid. So if you were to arrive here, you're going to potentially take pause before you just come marching right on in. You have to navigate through that space to come to the front door. It gives pause. Pebbles get kicked. So there's a fluid motion, there's a sound that comes with that. So really very sensory, very sensory. So that's 3. The next number is 7. So I mentioned earlier I wanted to use native stone, right? So I use this stone from the Avison Quarry up here, and I have 7 bands that move and shift through the space here and even repeat out. Actually, there's 2 of them here and here that are out at the parking strip. I wanted these bands to shift through the landscape. Because this distance is short, so the design move here, this distance is short, I wanted to take your eye and push it out so that we actually move on the horizontal and make the space feel larger. Make the space feel larger. So that's the design move there. The next number is 0. So the 0 is the completion, is this full circle. We have the 2 pads of crushed gravel, and then we have the 0, the full harbor that is here. So that is the story behind my welcome mat. And, the inspiration taken from Frank Lloyd Wright. And what that did then, with this sort of, very rectilinear language here that plays off of the house, having this 0 or this harbor expression allowed me then to have ripples, again, that theme of water, to have ripples of plant material, waves out into the landscape. And perhaps in their glory, in this blue star, that miscanthus, that amazing oak leaf hydrangea, you can see waves. Yes? Yes, I hope so. You can see waves. And then here's a larger sort of wave of the conifer here, and then the Cape fuchsia. So I wanted even these little ripples, right? These little ripples. Hello, yellow jacket. Hello there. These little ripples of succulents waving through. So the other side note is when you have a short distance here and you want to be welcoming, you also want yourself a little privacy. You want a little bit of privacy from the main street, which is right out here. And so with that, the branches, well, again, remember there was a lovely elderberry right here. I allowed branches to elope and provide us the screening that we needed to live this close, you guys. You see what I'm saying? This close to the sidewalk. So it's that small space sort of management, how you make that space feel larger, welcoming, and also private. So you can have a sense of privacy. Because as my peeps know, being a Cancerian, I like to make sure I can go back in my shell from time to time. But anyways, you guys, so here is the front garden. I loved doing this garden. I loved creating little mosaics that have a whole lot of meaning. And I just really enjoyed coming out here. Different seasons. Oh my gosh, this witch hazel. She's just outstanding. Now, I pruned her down, for curb appeal. But otherwise, she would have a height touching the gutters. So easily pruned. Don't worry, Steve, is what I kept saying to him. We have this. This is my expression of well casings. So again, sort of speaking to the water here. And there is the opportunity for plumbing and electrical for a water feature, should the new owners wish to do that. But yeah, so this is front garden. And, just absolutely, it was so delightful to watch it through the seasons. The Cape fuchsia here, this is called cherry ripe. And it's a hardy fuchsia. And she grows like nobody's business. I like the wild form. Looks like somebody's cat's been sleeping in here. Really like the wild form of it. And it's on its second bloom. So long as you prune it, it's going to bloom a couple of times throughout the season, clear into October. But when you sit there, when you sit there in the evening during the warmer months, you just watch this hummingbird sort of fiesta go on here. It's just outstanding. Outstanding. So welcome to 21370 is what I intended that to be. Safe place. This is a safe place. So as we come around, I wanted to sort of go back to that idea that things go round, one unifying theme. So that idea of, there she is. That idea repeats here on my first welding project that I did. Yeah, this is a raised metal planter. And if you remember the top of this broadcast, I mentioned that there was a very dilapidated, flowering cherry that Steve's mom actually planted here. And so during the remodel, I instructed the crew to remove it, which they did. It needed to be sent to tree heaven. And in its place, rather than digging out that stump, because it was ginormous and big, and I'm 5'3" and freakishly strong, but that was like too much for me. And so instead, I came up with this concept that we would do, I'd go to the graveyard and find some scrap metal. We'd roll it, create this planter. It's actually approximately 40 inches tall, so it's down significantly. Irrigation, it runs up underneath and through drip irrigation. It's looking a little sick and pale with grief, the plantings are, but you guys have seen so many of the photos that I've shot of this particular bubble, called my bubble bracelet planter. The bubbles are offset. This was an awesome welding project to do, and what it did is it gave me a raised planter over a tree trunk or tree stump, so I didn't have to dig that all out. I could let it naturally decompose. And so saving energy, saving time, saving resources, and using a renewable, reclaimed product. So the bubbles are, they copy the bubbles that are the tile, not copy, but they emulate the bubbles of the tile that's in the master bath. So we have this next expression of round, right? So you saw the first one, the round of the walkway. We have the round here of the front planter, and then we go round there, round to the wood wall, that screen that I think I've talked to you guys about. The intention there is such a wide driveway. We wanted to keep an offset in the event that we wanted to do a flag lot in the back. There's an offset from the property line. But I just needed privacy. So this wood wall acts as that. It functions that. So it takes inspiration from the moon gate design theory. And so beyond that, what is beyond that? What's a mystery? So I don't want to get the sun in your eyes. That there's that particular circular theme. I'm just going to move over, let you all enjoy this so the sun's not in your eyes. And then the circle theme ends, hopefully you can see it way over there, with the swing. So the front yard is completely tied to the back. One unifying theme. So the front welcome sequence speaks to your entire journey as you come through the space. Because I care about so much how that experience feels to anyone who dwells here, right? And using nature and using those, what are sacred geometries that are meaningful, I created that. And it's just really my hope. Because you just never know, right? You just never know. But it's my hope that the family that moves here today will feel that essence, and that these plants have their back, and that these plants, what we understand metaphysically, soulfully, is that these plants absorb and rebalance and soothe our energies. That's part of the power. And that's why in nurseries you see more and more or you hear more and more music being played for plants in greenhouses, it's that there's an energy, there's a vibration that comes in this relationship, and that these living, beautiful elements are providing us. And so whether vignette is small and intimate or grand, like I did here in this entire landscape, keep that in mind, keep that in mind about sort of the energy and expression that you're wanting to create. And so for every ending there is a beginning. And so I just so appreciate you hanging with me for this Goodbye Garden series. I'm going to grab a couple of things and perhaps tear a little bit more. And it's funny because friends have wondered, hey, why is it such a big deal for you to be leaving when you're going to some place that's so great? Well, it's because of relationship. Because I leave something familiar. And I'll share with you a piece on transition trauma when I open up my live series over at the farm. But I, leaving is leaving what is familiar. So, I think about like how many times I looked out during whatever was going on in my life. I looked out at this landscape. And that this creation that comes from my hands and this relationship I've created with this landscape is very sacred. And what this landscape holds of me does not go unnoticed. And it's more than just a pretty space. It's more than just a pretty space. It's very meaningful, and it's an extension of me. And when you are considering creating your space, just urge you to start from that place. That place. Work from in, out. And truly, that is what I do in every design. In every design, whether it's the small sort of styling piece or the larger commercial design, is to start from the in and work out. And that is where the true connection, the true meaning, and the true satisfaction come. And the lessons, you guys, the lessons, geez, the metaphors. Oh, it's truly about the science, what's happening in our bodies and our minds, the stylistic expression of saying, this is who I am, this is how I see the world, this is my imprint. And then it's the soul. It's the metaphysical, the transformation pieces that these plants and this landscape wrap around you and wrap you up in. And so, as we all move forward into hellos, and as we all say goodbyes, so it's so important to do goodbyes, or as my friend Carol would say, to do them well. As we all sort of move in and through our transitions, I just would so want for you to have and to know that connection. So, until the next live that we do. Thank you again for this really personal time together. And know that I wish you well and take very, very good care of your precious self. It's in your nature to heal. It's in your nature to heal. Ciao.